Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh and I'm chatting with founder Jayne Foley about the Fresh International Film Festival. So over 20 years ago, Jayne from Limerick School of Art decided that the Irish film community was missing something. So in 1997, she decided to change all that, giving young people a platform to express themselves and share their films with their peers. Jayne founded the Fresh Film Festival. So thank you so much for chatting with us, Jayne. It's lovely to have you here on the podcast.
Great to be here.
First up, it sounds like you have a very exciting festival planned. Could you tell me a little bit about your the Fresh International Film Festival?
Yeah, I suppose, well, we're going a long time. That's number one. We're at 27 years. So it's
Wow.
quite an achievement in itself. And this year's festival, yeah, it's really exciting, I suppose. I suppose the highlight of Fresh is really, it's all about young filmmakers and screening young filmmakers' work and promoting their work in every way we can. And last year, for the first time, we had the awards ceremony as an RTE show. So it's like the Oscars for young people. So, and this year we're doing the same again. And we're so happy because not only have RTE, I suppose, committed to doing it, Screen Ireland have also come on board as a funder as well. So we have a nice big budget for it. And it's going to be amazing for young filmmakers.
Fabulous. And tell me a little bit about its inception. Like, why did you feel the need to, because you are the founder, why did you feel the need that this festival had to exist?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it sounds so long ago. I always feel so old every time I do this, but yeah, I guess I was just finished art college, and I had just trained as a teacher as well, so an art teacher. So I was really interested, I suppose, in what were young people doing at school outside of the kind of normal day-to-day curriculum, in particular anything creative, because we all hear about, young people who play sports and all of the accolades they get for doing that. And I was wondering, like, in school, what were they doing? And I guess it kind of coincided with the same time as transition year was sort of taken off in schools as well. So we just decided, I decided to send out an application form to schools. It was called the Irish Schools Video Competition. And we were really surprised. We got 50 films back in.
Oh.
And so this was really interesting because, back then, it was quite difficult, late 90s, quite difficult for young people to make films. They had to borrow their parents' camcorder. They had to edit in camera or crash edit from one VCR to another VCR. So it was all a bit difficult for them to do. And it kind of depended on you having certain resources, so different than now. But we were really surprised with the stuff we were getting, and it was really exciting. I heard you had Conor McMahon, for example, on one of your recent podcasts. Like, Conor was in that first bunch.
Oh, that's lovely.
Films. Yeah. So he sent us in Tales of Terror. It was a trilogy of horror films. Yeah. And Conor was always very funny because we often laugh about it. He would claim that he's been making the same film ever since he was 16 years old. And there's so many elements of his new film and all the films that he's made in those early films that he made. So we basically screened those films and realized, there's something really special here. That's something that needs to be nurtured. And, it's like anything with young people. If you encourage them and support them in doing what they're doing, it's only going to benefit everybody.
Fabulous. And how has it changed then around those years? Like, I mean, that's such a different, I do remember those video cameras and performances. And like, what do you think are the elements? Like, technology has changed. So how would that have influenced it? But also, do you like how people get involved? Is that changed as well? And
all of that has changed. I mean, I feel it's like we went through this stage of when we all were getting, like, in the post, that's how you sent your applications in on big VHS tapes. We had to lug them around everywhere, put them in, like, it sounds like 100 years ago. And then we went to the DVDs, and then we'd get all the DVDs and the outtakes and the DVDs when that was a thing. So at the trend, and now everybody just uploads their films, I suppose. So everybody has access now to stuff, technology, but I mean, you still have to go out and you still have to come up with an idea, and you still have to get your friends together or get your school together, and there's still a lot of work involved in making a film, at a young age as well. So I suppose that hasn't changed in many ways. Story-wise is interesting. Yeah, stories have definitely changed. In the early days, I always think it's very interesting. We got a lot of films about teen pregnancy in the early days of Fresh, and we really rarely get them now. And they were always quite dramatic, and so I suppose I don't know. We never know what you really make of that, but it is an interesting thing. And a lot of the school-based stuff tend to be very issue-based, whereas the young filmmakers just try to make a film idea that they have. They're not stuck with that. Yeah, so yeah, it has changed a lot.
I would have thought it would be the opposite. That you'd have, the schools be like, let's just take something lighthearted and not delve into something so weighty.
Oh my God, I wish they'd make some lighthearted. We could do with a little more lighthearted. After watching this year, yeah. I mean, in fact, I would probably say that in the early days, there was a little more laughing than there is now. It tends to have got a little serious. And gosh, I suppose comedy is hard to do, there's no question. In the early days, I guess, as well, we'd often see a lot of messing on camera sometimes, and that had a charm of its own. And now we don't see that really at all, because everybody, has good performers. They have good cameras. They know what they're doing. But like the standard, I suppose, is really high now. And also the big thing for us is that we're international. So we went international maybe about 10 years ago, I'd say, at this stage, when we first did a sort of film exchange with an organization in America. I think it was Chicago, where we swapped our Ireland's young filmmaker films with theirs. That was really interesting to see the difference. And then it kind of grew out of that. So now, like this year, we had 1,000 films from international young filmmakers. Wow. Films from Korea to China, to the States, to Sweden, to Germany. Like, I think everywhere. With films from everywhere. It's amazing.
And how do you, God, that's some amount to go through, where you're like, oh no, I should have like limited it 1,000.
Yeah, it's very hard.
What's your average length of submissions then?
So 15 minutes so we have three categories, I suppose, in the young filmmakers. There's the junior, 7 to 12. Then we have the senior, 12 to 18, kind of second level school. And then the internationals are all under 18. So the general length of they can be no longer than 15 minutes. And sometimes, we sort of say, we're like, 15 minutes too long, but then, you get a really good film and it needs that 15 minutes as well, sometimes. So, yeah, generally our feedback was they could always be shorter.
I think that stays. I think that is continuously. I mean, I've seen plenty of feature films that I'm like, I could love if this was 40 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
So very interesting kind of premise. How do you decide what goes in the final program then? It sounds like you've got a lot to pick from.
Yeah. So they all have different juries, and we just finished that. So last weekend I was in RT. That's just where we did the jurying for the secondary school, the second level ones. And so we would have a panel of people from all areas of film and education, and then we would have the winner and the second prize winner back as well, so young people, and then the other juries would be heavily made up of young people as well. So and with the internationals, we have to, and with all of them actually, we have to shortlist, basically, as you can imagine. So there's like a whole team of us shortlisting, and we kind of have a system where somebody might watch something and then there's a sort of a bunch that they're not sure about, then someone else watches them, and so we try to really go through them. But like, I suppose, Fresh is, we look really good, like publicly we look great, but we're a very small little team of people, and it really is, it's full on from January to the end of the festival. It's weekend, it's everything. You're just working constantly. Yeah.
And I'm not going to kid ourselves that we have a huge amount of people listening in that are probably under 18, but for the mommies and daddies that have kids that they know, would get a lot out of this and have something to contribute. Like, how do you recommend people get involved? Like, how do people submit a film? How do they become involved with the jury for maybe subsequent years?
Yeah, so well, we have lots of things, I suppose, that we're doing in schools as well. We have another program that we do called You Judge It, which is a schools program too. So any school can opt into that, and that's basically where we give a school a bunch of films, all made by young people, mainly international, some international, and they sort of pick the ones that they like, and it's sort of a separate sort of thing, and it's like kind of having a film festival in your school. So that's one way. And the other way, I suppose, is really just go make a film, get out with your friends, come up with an idea. It doesn't have to be too complicated, and send it in to us. And, like Fresh is a really unique event in terms of the audience. It's very special to be at, because everybody there has a film. And there's a really great sort of support network amongst all the young filmmakers. They're very supportive of each other. They really love to network afterwards. We've often had young people who've come to the festival who then get to know other young people whose films that they like. They've often gone off and made films together. Film is a collaborative process. And yeah, so it's really exciting. And I suppose there's a place for everybody as well, from the young person at home who likes to be in their bedroom making animated films as well. That there's loads of places for everybody in there. There's 60-second award, there's documentary, drama, animation, everything and anything. And I suppose what we're here to do is really encourage everybody to just keep going with it as well. Not everyone will go through to the final, because it's just not possible with the number of films that we have, but everybody will generally get a screening of their film at a cinema.
And it sounds like with some amount of that there's a lot really that you're in there with. So you're in kind of high quality hands there as well. Tell me a little bit about how you guys program. You do events around the talks and events around the festival as well. Yeah. How do you guys program those?
Yeah, so basically, we would have a number of things. So in the early days when we started off, we had sort of three things that we were trying to do, like promote and screen young people's filmmaking, and that's number one. Two was then provide sort of workshops that would help them to benefit their filmmaking. And three was then to screen feature films that have young people as a protagonist in them. So we've kind of kept to that all the way along. So we have feature screenings. And what we started to do actually recently is that we do animation for the junior level. We do animation workshops, and then we link that in with a screening as well. So that's they really need to have a bigger understanding of what goes involved in seeing an animated film. It gives them a better appreciation of it, and at that very young age, it's really good. So we're doing an animation workshop with Magpie 6 Media. They're based in Ennis. And they're going to do a little one in a school in Limerick, and then we're going to screen American Tail, which is one of the first animated feature films ever to be made in Ireland. By Don Bluth. And so what we do is try to pick films, I suppose, that they can't see anywhere else. Because, the days are gone where everybody can kind of see so much stuff at home, and you have to kind of, for schools and stuff, you have to kind of add added value to things. So that's one, and we're screening another feature as well. And then we have a Careers in Screen event, which is all about promoting all of the areas that you can work in the film industry and that. And then we have we have another international screening that we're doing this year. It's called Against All Odds. And that kind of is interesting because that came about by this Ukrainian girl, 12-year-old girl, who had been contacting us, sending us her films. And she was basically sending us her films, and whilst there were bombs going on outside her door and her electricity was gone. And we thought, gosh, this is interesting. And the film is really good. And thought, really, this is interesting now to maybe put a screening together of young people who are in difficult circumstances or making films about things that are combating. There's one from Korea as well, which is really interesting, about a Korean defector. And it's just a teenager. So these are really interesting stories. So we're putting together a program like that, and then we have a whole sort of day of Ireland's Young Filmmaker Forum. So that will be a whole day of basically where filmmakers come in and work with them. And that is programmed totally by our youth advisory group. That's our young people who program the whole day. So they come to us, we go to them, what would you like? They tell us what we like. We try to make it happen. This year they've asked for, which is interesting, they've asked for a few things. They want a kind of like a networking event. They want, they want a networking event. They want a pitching competition.
Very intense. I don't even want a pitching competition.
I know.
It's so stressful. And public speaking for play. I do them if I have to, and I mean, I'm to be delighted
I know.
Volunteer.
And then they also would like a director to come in, but maybe someone like a writer and director and maybe an editor of the same film, which I thought was really interesting. So somebody who has worked on one film, but this how it went from a writer to a director and how it ended up in the edit and all that process. They really want to understand how it goes through that process, which I think is really interesting. So we have somebody, but I can't confirm yet because I think he hasn't confirmed. I think it should, if it comes to play, I think it'll be really great. Yeah. Gemma, we do lots of programs outside of the festival as well. We do this Hot House program, which was funded by Screen Ireland and RTE again last year. And that's kind of for exceptional young people who come out of the festival who we think are operating at a high level, and we give them money to make their own films. And that might sound like a really kind of normal thing, but actually it's kind of unusual. Nobody gives young people money to make their own work.
I'm sure most of the schemes, like the funding schemes, even the entry level ones, you're not allowed to be in third level education. Even you have to have graduated college or not be in third level education. So it is like, it's great to see that support being issued as well, because I'd like that as well. Like, it's nice for people to place and get those skills, and people learn most by doing. So you could sit in a classroom all day long, and it's you're out there kind of like making mistakes and learning from that. That's how you kind of hone your craft. That's brilliant.
And we get them to do a budget and everything like it is, and it's their first time ever having to think about, oh, I have money. Well, what do I do with it now? And how do I prove I spent it? And how do I pay that? It's really wonderful learning in it. But the films are really great as well. Hopefully they'll be up in the RTE player in the next week or so as well. So people will be able to see them there.
Amazing. And the thing about it is right now it's actually one of the careers that it's a good time to be getting into film, because we're right now at peak. Like at peak filming, you've never had more jobs and more career routes to go down. I think like Screen Ireland as well has done a great job at incentivizing huge big productions for coming. So it's actually a great kind of path to get down, to see it from the ground up, to see a production being, and then you're ready to start it.
Yeah, and it's so great, I suppose, to see Screen Ireland, and I have to say, like, the Arts Council have been there with us from the start as well. That support, like, it really is, it's everything. It means, that we can do this work, and it means that we're supported in doing it. So, and it makes it all doable, really.
So tell me a little bit about the Hot House program.
Yeah, so the Hot House program we've been doing for a number of years, and we do it in many different ways, I suppose. We sort of look at sort of what needs to be covered. Like one of the Hot House we did with just young female filmmakers with Dervla Walsh. And again, like seeing someone like her, she's really inspirational. And the amazing career she had, and that really, is so important for other young female filmmakers. Remember, these are under 18, so if you can get it right there, it's going to filter up. It's the most important place to send that strong message that you can do it, and you can be just as good as all those other lads there. So
I presume you've a good few of big name alumni.
We have a few.
After that, like we've got Conor McMahon,
Conor.
Obviously.
With Donald Foreman. Was also with us. Yeah, he actually was Donald entered, like Conor. Well, Donald entered at a very young age. He was entering from the age of 13 every year he would enter, and he eventually won, I think, when he was 17. And he kept on coming back. Oh my, his films, I don't know if his films that he made when he was younger are just hilarious. They're so funny. They're just completely wacky. And really different than the Donal, I suppose, that we see now. But he's just brilliant. He was brilliant in those early days. He really understood film. He was passionate about it. And he had this great group of friends. And there was something really special about them when they'd all, every year they'd come down to the festival. Yeah, they were really great. Vincent Lam as well. Yeah, so Vincent, again, another early days. Oh, there's lots. We have Rachel McGill, and she's doing really great. She's actually from Limerick, and she's another one, I suppose, who entered at a very young age. And then we've Ella Nethercott. She was our last winner, the year before last, and she's in London doing filming college in London, and she's just amazing. She's also on our advisory group, and she is, yeah, wow, like, so yeah, I mean, I suppose you always have to keep an eye on it. And I certainly will. And yeah, but like, there's no fear of them, is what I would say. There's no fear of them. Yeah. And I suppose like they're the ones off the top of my head, but like literally every time you watch television, you'll go, oh, there's Jonathan Lambert. He's directed that on television. There's such and such, you know, they pop up all the time. Like they are all working. They're all working. All of them are all working. It's fact, you know.
Can you tell me a little bit about who are the filmmakers?
Yeah, so the filmmakers are everyone. They're absolutely everyone under the age of 18, boys, girls, lots of girls' schools, lots of boys' schools. And then we've a lot of individual female directors, which is great to see that coming up. You know, that's a change, I suppose, from the early days. And we really were very proactive about that, actually, because we did a hothouse just for young female filmmakers. We put a big emphasis on that because we were kind of seeing that there were lots of girls in Fresh, but they weren't the directors. They were like the producers of the film, or they were acting in it. So we really wanted to push that out. So, and that has really changed. Like, that's
great to hear. And do you feel like people's skills have changed? Because I know like TikTok and things like that, that's really given people a sense of what editing is. You know, and you can do it now. You know, your phones are so powerful that you can edit at home. Can you see that kind of skill set develop quicker?
Yeah, we do, definitely. I suppose, I mean, what we'd always say, definitely, yeah. Look, skills are really good there. Sound is still a little bit of an issue in some of the stuff. And sound in the early days was the killer. It was just like everybody was really struggling. Now that's really improved, but it's still at points, you know, can let down something. And it's a job, I suppose, whenever we do workshops, nobody ever wants to do it. But it's obviously crucial if you can't hear the thing properly. So yeah, the skills have massively improved. Story is everything, though, and that's why we put a lot of emphasis on like screenwriting workshops and stuff like that, because it's really, really important. Yeah.
Where can people see the films, and when can people see the awards?
So, okay, that's a tricky question now. So basically, here's the thing. So the festival is happening the last week in March. So yeah, and like anyone who's entered will be getting their notifications. They can see them in the regional finals all over Ireland. So we've got 2 in Dublin, one in Ulster, one in Munster, 2 in Munster actually, and 1 in Connacht as well. So like everywhere all around the country, everyone's going to get to see their films in the next few weeks. And then the final will be on the 30th of March. Sorry, got my brain. March. And then we'll shoot the awards show straight after it on that day. And then we've got to tell over 400 young people that they can't say a word for another 2 weeks until it goes on television.
Oh no. They'll be so excited waiting for their films.
We did it last year, like a mobile phone ban. Oh yeah, and we had a few little sneaky ones that snuck in. So yeah, we have a provisional date from RTE, but it'll be confirmed later on this week. But it looks like it will be the second week in April, about 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night on RTE. So for 1 hour. So it'll be the awards show. Yeah. So it's very exciting, but yeah, it is really tricky. It's kind of like it's almost like a strange thing because you have the awards and then we all go home. We just, we don't do any press. We don't do anything. We just until the actual thing happens.
Forget about the Oscars. We won't be staying up late watching that. We'll be watching this on RT. So that sounds very exciting. So we'll make sure to link in that.
I hope so.
Oh, thank you so much for chatting with us. That's delighted to hear.
Thanks, Gemma.